With more and more Subnautica news on the rise, I feel like Subnautica 3 or Subnautica 2, if you want to so call it, is being talked a lot about right now, so why not share some new ideas on what we could see in the game, such as biomes, new creatures and leviathans, story, vehicles, graphics, and other miscellaneous things. This video does contain spoilers from all the other Subnautica games, by the way. I also want to thank you guys a lot for 1,000 subscribers. This is a huge milestone for me. So our first topic today is multiplayer. This is a huge topic. A lot of people are very controversial about this. Subnautica 3 will most likely have multiplayer in it. This was a feature that was requested a lot, and I am fairly sure that they can add it into the game. Now there is a few things they have to do to keep this balanced. As we know, previous games were not intended to be played multiplayer, so there was far less loot but enough for one player to survive on, so there will need to be an increase to this accordingly to how many players are in the game. Well, now how do we add this? Well, make it so the game is either multiplayer or solo when you're making a new world. Multiplayer has to be an option so the worlds are balanced, and if they do add this, the lobby size should either be a total of 2 players or a total of 4. Our second topic today is the storyline. So we all know that in Subnautica Below Zero, we finished off with the main character, Robin, going through a portal with Alan. So I'd assume the storyline would continue from there, and the biomes are most likely way different in that dimension if we are in a different dimension. But the thing is, people didn't really like the narrative in Below Zero. Instead of you going to find the lore yourself and actually explore, in Below Zero you were pretty much running missions all the time, going from point A to point B, guiding new players, yes, but really losing that alone feeling on an unknown planet we had in the first game. In the first game, you were finding PDFs and logs that would structure the story as you played. In Below Zero, your sister was guiding you, and then Alan got stuck in your head, so you never really felt alone. So point being, I want to feel alone and finding some storyline as I go instead of a guided playthrough. Cutscenes are also very controversial. I'd like to hear you guys' opinion if you want some in Subnautica 3 or not. New biomes. This can really impact the game on how players see it. Both games had some very good biomes, good looking ones at that too. One thing we see in both games is some resemblance in some biomes, like the kelp forest thing in the early game. Since Subnautica and Below Zero are both on the same planet, and since Subnautica 3, if we are on a different dimension, it could be cool to see some way different types of biome. I'll flash some concept art as we talk about this. With Unreal Engine 5, we got some better lighting with Lumen and Nanite, so we could see a huge improvement on how biomes look because of this. Darker in some areas and full of colors in different parts. There is pretty much endless possibilities we can find on this, and I'm sure the dev team will not disappoint on the biomes. I also kinda do want to see some different creatures in the multitude of biomes, as sometimes I feel like there is no threat crossing some biomes later on in the game. Also, map size could be a whole lot bigger in Subnautica 3, and can potentially see even more biomes and leviathans creeping in those depths. Another thing I would like to have is some type of land experience like we saw with the ice worm. It is fun, but I don't really want the game centered around huge land masses that you go across all the time, mostly in the water, please. Vehicles. Now this is a sensitive subject because I don't really know what they can add. My small brain cannot think of anything cool to add, so I want to see what you guys have to say about this. If we do get multiplayer, we could maybe see a vehicle that can be seated by multiple people via an upgrade, but Below Zero, Sea-Truck sucked massive balls. This shit was so hard to navigate in tight corners with 4 truck modules on the back. I also felt like you unlocked that way too early on in the game, and it was pretty much a safe zone after that. Nothing really felt like a challenge. Something tries to eat you, boom, you come out of there untouched and you can repair the Sea-Truck. But one thing I do want to say for certain is they need to make a vehicle progression in a better fashion so you don't unlock the most OP thing like in the first game. You had the Seamoth and then the Prawn Suit and then the Cyclops at different times in the game, instead of unlocking Sea-Truck within the first hour of you spawning in the world. So new creatures and leviathans. Most of them are very cool. I disliked Below Zero's ones as they were decently easy to get away from, but that's besides the point. In the next game, it would be cool to see some bigger leviathans. The ghost leviathan is huge, but imagine an even bigger one chasing after you. I'll also put some concept arts I found on the internet on screen. But if we see bigger leviathans, they probably could swallow a Seamoth whole, so maybe we can see some new defense mechanism or a weapon that can deal with them or make them piss off for a little while. I've also seen a mod called Call of the Void. It's not actually out yet, and it made use of base defense, as one of the Leviathans would follow you back home and attack your base. A cool concept that could be brought into the game. I'd like to hear you guys' feedback on that, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. With smaller creatures, I also want to see maybe variations of peepers, and just a whole new line of predators and small cute little critters you can find around pretty much everywhere. The last topic on this, I'm not even sure what to call, so I'll call it Operation Health. In Subnautica, we had the coronavirus that you had to go and cure yourself, and in Below Zero, we had the heat system that kind of barely worked. I never got frozen or anything like that. I never brought coffee with me to warm me up, so if we see another system like this in the next game, I'd like it to be a little bit more efficient so that I have to take account that I may freeze to death and start planning my trips just a little bit better. And if we see another virus type thing, I hope that we have to kind of like mitigate the effects by using something for a little while and then trying to find the cure later on in the game. Now, this is just what I personally want in the game. If you guys want me to cover a longer video on this, I can, but for now, this is all I have. If you like this video, be sure to like and sub, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.